Prime Minister Beth Rigby, Sky News. I want to follow up on Chris's question because I'm a bit confused. You say migration in this country under the Tories is unforgivable. You said borders are one of your top 2 priorities. You put tackling small boats into your mission promises before the election, adding it to your 5 missions. And yet on the banners behind you, there's nothing there. In the 6 milestones of measurement, there's nothing there. So you have not given the public one metric on which to measure you when it comes to migration. Is that because you fear failure, or is it because you said it was a priority to win, but actually it's not even in your top 6? Thank you.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer recently found himself in a terrible position during a press conference where his authority was questioned. He presented his ambitious programme of radical changes in the country, but faced furious questions from journalists who were not ready to take his words on faith. When Starmer was asked one of the most difficult and provocative questions, he literally lost the power of speech, became confused in words and remained silent, as if his tongue was tied. Journalists continued to put pressure on him, not giving him the opportunity to justify himself, which led to harsh criticism from even former Labour Party advisers. One of the issues that caused Starmer such difficulty was related to immigration, and his reaction was simply shocking.
No, Beth, the way we've constructed it is that there are foundational things that a government must do, and they are based on security. So national security is obvious, but border security is equally obvious in my view, and that's why I've said we are committed to bringing down immigration, both legal and illegal. We must stop people crossing in boats across the Channel, and we have to get to grips with the volume of regular migration we have in this country. The statistics last week were shocking. Net migration of nearly...
In his statement, Keir Starmer clearly tried to bury his head in the sand, avoiding mentioning immigration as one of the key areas of his policy, despite its enormous importance in British politics. Instead of providing clear and specific commitments, Starmer used vague language that sounded like empty promises but actually meant nothing. However, the journalists quickly saw through and realized that he was trying to deceive the public by hiding his true position. If immigration is important, why is it not a key indicator for voters to evaluate? This showed that Starmer was trying to deceive the public by using ambiguous language to avoid specific statements and preserve his image. It was just outrageous.
It is the duty of government to bring that down. It is our duty to do it, and that's why I said it out in my speech, that that is what we would do, and we will do it. The missions are then the additional things that we want the government to do, the change that we want to bring about, and that's why we set them out in our manifesto. Each of the chapters in our manifesto was an example of how we would deliver that, and the plan for change then takes them forward with measurable milestones so that the public can see whether we're making the progress that we need to make in the missions. But the foundation is still the foundational stone on which this is built, which of course includes as an integral part border security. Thank you.
This put Starmer in a desperate position where he was forced to use streamlined language and examples to avoid directly answering questions about immigration. He knew that if he included immigration in his list of key goals, he would be obliged to provide specific promises that could be used against him by his opponents, and that would be a disaster for him. Therefore, Starmer solved this problem by calling immigration a fundamental problem, but not including it in his list of key goals. It was an obvious deceptive statement that was supposed to reassure the public, but in fact meant nothing. He stated that border security and immigration control are the primary responsibilities of any government, but did not provide specific goals or a time frame for achieving these goals. Instead, he simply stated that both legal and illegal immigration would be reduced, but did not provide any plan or benchmarks to measure progress. It was a clear evasion, and Starmer knew he risked being accused of a lack of honesty and transparency. He was forced to play this game, but it was a clear admission of his weakness and uncertainty about his own political views.
Mr. Speaker, he's not fixing any foundations, he's making everything worse. The whole House would have heard him refuse to repeat the Chancellor's pledge, a pledge as worthless as the manifesto promises that he's talking about. If he is fixing foundations, why is it that the PMI index shows that business confidence has crashed since the budget?
This approach demonstrates Starmer's clear desire to avoid the political risks associated with immigration and keep his political career safe. He knows that a direct solution to this issue can lead to disastrous consequences. including losing the support of progressive-minded voters who favor a more open immigration policy, or provoking a fierce negative reaction from those who demand stricter controls. Therefore, Starmer decided to take a more cautious approach, articulating immigration as a fundamental principle, which allows him to recognize the problem but avoid controversial details that could undermine his appeal to a wider range of people. This is a clear evasion of a direct answer, which demonstrates Starmer's desire to maintain his political flexibility and avoid conflict with various groups of voters, even if this means abandoning a principled position.
He wants to know what Conservatives would do. He should resign and find out. Until then...
I'll decide when there's more.
Mr. Speaker, until then, I'm the one asking the questions. There's a petition out there, 2 million people asking him to go. He's the one who doesn't know. He's the one who doesn't know how things work. It is not government that creates growth, Mr. Speaker. It is business. His employment secretary, I don't see her here, she wants more young people in work. But businesses say they are cutting jobs because of the Chancellor's budget. His Deputy Prime Minister, she is not here. Her employment rights bill will stop businesses hiring. That's what they say. The CBI said on Monday that the dots of the government's policy don't join up.
Keir Starmer has been severely criticized for deliberately excluding immigration from the list of 6 key goals he presented, despite having previously declared it one of his 2 top priorities. This glaring exception, as well as his evasive and nervous responses to pointed questions, highlight a disturbing lack of clarity and accountability on an issue that remains a cornerstone of political debate in the UK. This raises serious doubts about his sincerity and the strategic motives behind his rhetoric. The journalist asked Starmer directly why he had excluded immigration from his plan, and noted that Labour had promised before the election to solve problems such as small boat crossings and border security. The question was simple: was the omission of the immigration service caused by fear of failure, or by the fact that it was never really a priority, but was simply used in the election campaign to attract votes? Starmer's answer was inconclusive and did not help to dispel these doubts. He spoke indistinctly, avoiding a direct answer, and everyone felt his nervousness and uncertainty. It was a clear recognition of his weakness and inability to solve one of the most important problems in British politics. It was like a punch in the face to all those who believed in his promises and hoped for real changes. Starmer has shown that he is not ready to take responsibility for his words and actions, and that he is more interested in preserving his political image than in solving real problems.
Last week, the Prime Minister failed to repeat the Chancellor's pledge of no more borrowing and no more taxes. It is obvious that they are coming back for more. In his manifesto, he committed to making Britain the fastest growing economy in the G7. Does he stand by his own pledge?
I'd also invite her to look at the OECD report of this morning, which has upgraded growth for next year and the year after, which now puts us on target to be the highest growing major economy in Europe in the next 2 years. She should welcome that.
If immigration was indeed a top priority for Keir Starmer, then why didn't he give it the same importance as clean energy or housing construction? This strange omission raises serious questions about his sincerity and commitment to solving this problem. In fact, by failing to provide voters with a clear and measurable criterion for his work on immigration, Starmer effectively relieved himself of responsibility in the future. This evasion may prove politically costly, as voters are unlikely to accept vague assurances that an issue they deeply care about will be resolved. Failure to provide clear and realistic solutions to these problems. This is not just a matter of political tactics, but also the question of whether they can be leaders who can solve real problems and secure the future of the country.
I saw the OECD report, and what it said was that they will be coming back for more taxes. And I think the whole House would have heard him fail to repeat his own pledge. He can't even repeat the pledges that he made just a few weeks ago. We are here to stop him from damaging the economy, and that is why yesterday we voted against his damaging jobs tax. Even former supporters, Chef Tom Kerridge, who endorsed Labour at the election, said that the budget was catastrophic.
Keir Starmer's leadership is facing a mounting crisis, as the head of the Civil Servants Union has issued a scathing rebuke of his approach to communicating with public servants. In a strongly worded letter, the union leader has demanded that Starmer rethink his tone and language, which has left many civil servants feeling belittled and disrespected. The controversy stems from Starmer's incendiary comments, which sparked outrage and disillusionment among those who have dedicated their careers to serving the nation. Dave Penman, the head of senior civil servants, has been a vocal critic of Starmer's remarks, and is now calling for a fundamental shift in his approach to engaging with public servants. This latest development is a significant blow to Starmer's reputation and his ability to inspire and motivate others, and he must now confront the consequences of his words and actions. The question on everyone's mind is, can Starmer recover from this self-inflicted wound and restore trust with the very people he needs to lead? Tell me your opinion in the comments. See you.